Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long.
What's that all about?
Just a poem, one of Johnny Diamond's favorites. Let's see. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song, in search of El Dorado.
Howdy, everyone. Pull up a chair, kick up your boots, take a sip on a nice cold drink. It's El Dorado, Season 3 of Support Your Local Podcast, where we take a look at the 1966 John Wayne classic El Dorado, one chapter at a time. I'm your host, as always, Robert Smith, coming to you from beautiful Tombstone. Yes, that one. Today we'll be taking a look at Chapter 12, Getting the Job Done. We left off last chapter with our heroes a bit downtrodden and losing their bargaining chip in Bart Jason and Cole having another one of his attacks. We start today with Maudie taking a tray from Maria back at JP's place, and our younger doctor from earlier is taking a look at Cole. JP's sitting at a piano pecking away at a fe's keys, and Mississippi's sitting at a table picking dirt from under his nail with his knife. We find out that Cole is able to move, but his right arm, his shooting arm, is still numb. And the doctor tells him that he may have waited too long to get his fixed. And we cut to a contemplative Bull standing like Captain Morgan, as he stares out the window. Perhaps he's worried about Cole. Perhaps he's worried about their situation. Maybe, just maybe, he's second-guessing his evil plan to overthrow the sheriff, and, he's seeing the effect his actions are having on people, because at the end of the day, Bull has a heart as big as the whole outdoors. Maudie asks the doctor if he can still operate on Cole, and he admits he could, but he'd be laid up from it, and Cole won't let him be laid up with everything going on. JP asks if Bull is just going to stand there looking out the window all day, and Bull replies simply and wisely, yes. He realizes that McLeod had let them get out of town way too easily. So we've established this place is in fact out of town, and they are presumably holding themselves up right now. So if this is JP's place, wouldn't someone in town know that and be able to tell Jason or McLeod where to find them? ? Or are they no longer of concern for them now that Jason's back and Cole's seemingly out of commission? What do you think? We cut to nighttime, dinner time from the looks of it, and Bull is still the ever-vigilant sentry, looking out the window when he notices the McDonald's coming up. It's Joey and Saul McDonald's wife, who is walking in holding a shotgun to which no one even bats an eye. We just finished our last chapter with Cole telling JP that the McDonald's are going to blame the sheriff for whatever happens from this whole fiasco. And I mean, yes, that was a week ago in podcast time, but in the movie, it's literally 2 minutes ago, if that. So seeing the hot-headed McDonald and another one walking in with a shotgun maybe shouldn't be as casual as an experience as this is. Just saying. We find out that Saul, presumably that's one of the brothers, has been kidnapped by the McLeod gang. Cole, never one to miss an opportunity for a catty comment, chastises Joey that she was supposed to be warning her family to watch out. And she replies that cattle still need to be watered, and you can almost just barely hear the non-existent asshole to punctuate the sentence. Hell, even I took offense on this one. Look here, asshole. You shot and killed my brother. You weren't able to keep my other brother from getting shot. You then ignored your own plan of staying in the jail and got yourself beat up to the point that you lost the only hope we had of going out of this alive. And now, instead of guarding my family, Are you listening, asshole? You told me to, hey, be careful. That's like thoughts and prayers. Asshole. We find out that Saul is the bargaining chip that Jason's using to get Paul McDonald to sign over his water rights. But everyone agrees that it won't end there, as Jason wouldn't want any witnesses to how he got those rights signed. So the plan is to have McDonald come to Bart Jason's bar, and, you remember, the Just Saloon tonight. JP gives a good explanation of the situation and why he doesn't think he'll be able to help. Jason has McLeod and a bunch of gunmen, while they have 2 cripples, his word, not mine, a green kid, and a noisy old, to which Bull interjects, Indian fighter. It's a nice little comedic beat, despite, some of the terminology of a few people in that group that you can't really say anymore. But they send the ladies off to tell Paul that he must do what he has to do, but they will try to help. And Joey admits that all this may have been avoided if she hadn't shot Cole, which, valid point. I take away one of the asshole comments. As the ladies walk out the door, we get Mississippi taking a second glance at the exiting Joey in some very, let's say snug leather pants. We're not talking Sharon Stone in the Quick and the Dead level tightness of jeans, but hey, admittedly not bad. Bull asks the sheriff what the plan is, and JP admits he truly doesn't know. Then we hear a click, and everyone looks over at Cole, who is doing the Terminator 2 spinning the shotgun type thing trick. Like 30 years before Arnie made it famous, which that's nice, He's holding a rifle in his left hand, and he's spinning it to cock it, and you can see the Duke wincing in pain as he does it. So it's nice to see the thought behind it being acted out. His back and such is still giving him a lot of grief. And this is obviously not a motion that he's used to. He says he can hit something with it if he gets close enough, and asks JP to load it for him. And it's not called out in the movie, but I noticed it as a nice little homage to the Duke having to load JP's gun for him earlier on. He says that he'll ride up to Jason's in a wagon and use the fact that they all think that he's no good to his advantage. Then it'll be like last time when they fooled them with the sheriff's sickness, only in reverse, with Cole being the bait and the rest going in the back. They hurry up to load up a couple wagons so they can get there before the McDonald's do. And we cut to everyone heading out front and getting into the wagons. The Duke makes sure that no one would be able to see his rifle sitting next to him. And then when Mississippi asks the valid question of how the Duke plans to get down from the wagon when he gets there, the Duke has the equally valid response, it's easy. I'm just going to fall down. We'll see if it works. To continue the valid questions, and let me just say that I love this part of the movie because, let's be honest, these are the questions that the audience may be having themselves. And instead of it just being a forced exposition dump, it's presented like a natural conversation that these guys would really be having. But anyway, to continue the valid questions, Cole wants to know the logistics and the timing of the others going out back and helping him while he's busy getting shot at out front. So JP has the only answer there is. If we get done in time, Bull will blow his bugle, which we all know means that he's coming. And if not in time, well, Cole's on his own. Shrug. It's a nice little touch. Maudie is standing beside John Wayne's wagon, and Mississippi's behind her. And I'm not trying to be the pervy guy. Like, really, I'm not. And I'm not exactly trying to call out James Caan. But the entire time that Maudie talks in this next bit, his eyes are directly down at Maudie's ass. Like, not looking her up and down and checking her. Like, they are visibly, for several seconds, looking straight down at her ass. Just saying. Maudie asks if she can ride into town with Cole, and he replies that she'll need to get off when he tells her. She tells him she'll get off, which, phrasing, maybe one, last little finger bang between friends on the way to his death. Who knows? She climbs up beside him, and Mississippi starts the El Dorado poem before saying, I'll see you, Cole. And the Duke rides off, and JP hollers for Bull to hurry up. Bull comes back out with a bow and arrow and a plan to be stealthy. As the three load up into the other wagon, Mississippi finishes the El Dorado poem and hee-haws the horses into action. Sounds just like that. You'll see. We dissolve into the familiar El Dorado Main Street and the Duke with Maudie's wagon. And the Duke picks her up, kicks her off the wagon. Well, not literally, but And she's visibly not happy with this whole plan. And she tells the Duke, she's not going to say goodbye or this is crazy. She'll just go and buy him a 6'6" pine box and ... She's interrupted by the Duke, who has no time for this nonsense. But no, he sees the McDonald's riding into town and he tells her to go stop him. And, how conveniently timed, because otherwise he would have had to listen to his love interest with a reasonable reaction to his lifestyle of his. So, good on him for avoiding that. We see the second wagon rolling in, and there's a great shot of Bull sitting on the edge of the back with his shit-eating grin, and he's just kicking his feet back and forth like a little kid. And, is this Bull enjoying the chauffeur treatment? Is this Bull knowing that his plan will fail and he'll finally be free? After all, he's already stacking the deck by using a bow and arrow instead of a gun, effectively giving their team just 2. And this is a quote from the movie, so don't at me. 2 cripples and a green kid? ? They hop off, and JP is still on his crutch, and they start sneaking towards the back of Jason's place. There is a horribly off-tuned piano playing in the background, presumably the one the sheriff shot up earlier. And it's interesting that you can hear the piano all the way out here in the back, but not gunshots other places. Sound is weird. They see a man posted outside the back door, and the sheriff asks Bull if he can bow and arrow the guy from here. And Bull says he can't miss. But Mississippi looks concerned and asks if the guy would be able to yell when he got hit. And Bull replies, well, plenty. So, so much for the stealth mission. Mississippi then has an idea, and he collects a flower pot in a nearby window. And he hands off his hat, that hat, and puts the bottom tray of the flower pot on his head. He then drapes a cloak of some sort from a nearby laundry line around his shoulders and... Oh, no. He's not... No. Is he? Oh, my. All right. Well, yes. Yes, he is. Okay. I've seen this movie a million times, so I'm obviously just pretending to not know what's coming next. But, it's something that happened, so let's get through it. And anyone who has heard some of my previous stuff, specifically older stuff that doesn't age well, I'm not an apologist for, it was a different time, but it is what it is. So James Caan pretends to be an Asian man, specifically the racial stereotype of someone from China. And this is something that sadly you would often see in the Westerns of this time frame. He crouches down and he tries to squint his eyes, and he then begins to make bing bong tong noises, kind of mimicking Chinese words. Even goes so far as saying, "See you later." Now, I'm not taking the moral high ground. As a kid, I fucking laughed at this. I'm not going to lie. And it's okay if you laugh at it today. That's you and you do you, boo. It's just a bit more uncomfortable seeing through a 2020s lens. He hops and literally hop walks towards the guy standing and guarding the door. And when the noticeably and rightfully confused guy tries to stop him, Caan hauls off and cold cocks him. He then, it hurts. He says, "So sorry," and he waves Bull and JP to follow him. Thankfully, we're past this part. I'm sorry, guys. They then sneak through the back door, and they have a peek at what's going on. And we see several men, a couple playing cards at the table by the front door. One man is sitting in a chair without a table, sipping beer. And several others are standing at the bar with Bart Jason and Nelson McLeod, but there's no one by the back door, so that's just the one guy on the outside, huh? Okay. There's a man tied to a chair, and that's presumably Sal McDonald. He's sitting close to the tableless man. The sheriff makes the comment that Joe is never that great on the piano, to which Bull replies, "It didn't help you shooting it." We cut to the Duke on his wagon approaching, and the foreman gets up from a chair outside the front door. He announces to McLeod that Cole Thornton's coming, and McLeod springs into action. He exits the Batwing doors, and he tells a few guys to stay on the McDonald kid. Cole rides up to in front, where Nelson's waiting patiently, and Jason joins McLeod, as does 3 others. So we should have the foreman, Jason, McLeod, and the 3 goons. 6 folks. Remember that. Jason says he didn't expect to see Cole there, and as Cole sits on the wagon with his arm tucked, palm upright, he says that there's still a question unanswered between Nelson and him. When Jason tries to talk again, he's shushed by McLeod, and the mock formality between him and Cole continues. He knows that the question can't be answered because Cole's gun arm is messed up, and the Duke tells him to, let me get off this wagon and I'll show you. Nels wants to know why he should let him get down, and we get a call back to the professional courtesy line, which is a nice little touch. This chatters enough time for the guys inside to formulate their plan, and Bull shoots an arrow into the back of the guy closest to McDonald. Despite earlier concerns of people yelling when shot with the arrow, this guy's completely silent, and no one notices what's going on until Bull's able to blow his bugle. And, knowing what we know about Bull blowing his bugle, does he do it every time he kills someone? Is that his kink? Is that letting him, get there? Question mark. Anywho, Nels and the crows on the boardwalk are distracted by the bugle, and the Duke takes that chance to whip out his rifle and start blasting. He then takes a great leap from the wagon, and he hits the ground, but he still has his rifle still at the ready, and he shoots Nels just as he was getting his pistols drawn, and Jason and the others kind of scatter. We cut to the McDonald's watching from across the way, and it's Paul, the other brother Matt, Sal's wife, and I'm not sure if this other lady is Matt's wife. She appears the same age as Sal's wife and Joey, so to have kids that age, I really don't think this is Ma McDonald. The Duke blasts McLeod again, and he's making him drop one of his pistols. Then again, he shoots him, and finally knocking him over to the ground. For someone with 6 guys to contend with, he's spending a lot of seconds and a lot of bullets on this already shot McLeod. Just saying. We cut inside to where the sheriff is blasting away at some of the inside guards, and one guy takes a dive behind a table just as Mississippi lets loose with his shotgun. And Mississippi's shot takes out the window, and, luckily the guy on the porch standing there. So presumably this is one of the 6 guys attacking the Duke, and he didn't just hit a random bystander. The sheriff hollers, "Freeze it right there, Johnny," at the bartender behind the bar. And there's a couple interesting things there about that. One, the bartender's standing there with his hands up, and he does not have a bandage on it from the splintering incident earlier. And 2, as we mentioned in a previous episode, the bartender's name is Elmer, and the guy playing the bartender is Robert Mitchum's real-life brother, John Mitchum. So it's an error that was left in when Robert Mitchum hollers, "Freeze it right there, Johnny." So for you fun facts out there. We cut to the Duke, now holding his leg and hobbling as the foreman hides under the hitching post to shoot at the Duke. And he's promptly shot in the gut by John Wayne, and whoop, whoop, whoop.
We'll head them off at the pass!
Head them off at the pass? I hate that cliche.
He does the classic face of someone gut shot and promptly dies. The Duke then has to reload, and this gives Bart Jason the chance to grab the foreman's gun. After all, he's not going to need it anymore. Just saying. Before he can fire, however, Joey McDonald is across the street with her rifle, and she takes 2 shots to hit Ed Asner, thus further proving she had no right to be so proud of her shooting ability at close range. Just saying. Jason falls down dead, and Bull comes out of the Batwing doors, presumably now faced with the reality that his brilliant, evil plan was all for naught. The good guys still won, and his future, his glory, is lying there broken and dead at his feet. Poor Bull. Will he ever escape the clutches of this damn drunken sheriff? We'll see. Anyways, we see the foreman, Jason, and Nels lying there on the boardwalk. There's presumably the guy shot through the window just a bit further down out of frame, but we never saw the other 2 guys shot. Where are they? Now that the fighting is over, now the other McDonald's, Paul included, they finally come running over with guns drawn. Chicken shits. Paul even has the balls to tell Joey, "I thought I told you to stay out of this." Like, what the fuck, dude? Cole tells him he's glad she did help, and it appears that Joey's debt to him for shooting him has finally been redeemed. Bull calls Cole over to the downed Nelson McLeod, and he's not quite dead yet. "I feel happy." You're welcome, Sean. Nels tells Cole he didn't give him a chance at all, did he? And, so much for professional courtesy from the Duke, I guess. Cole admits that he couldn't give him any chance because Nels was too good. And that makes him lament the fact that, he let a one-armed man take him and promptly, presumably as I thought he'd already be dead, dies. We end our scene back in the jail with a second of Mississippi holding a coffee cup, looking concerned for Cole, who's getting a bandana wrapped around his thigh by the younger doctor. So what happens next? As we are very fastly coming up to the conclusion of our little movie here. Will those other 2 guys come back for revenge in El Dorado 2? El Dorado? Easy for you to say. Will Cole finally get that surgery? Will Bull keep blowing his bugle to sweet release? Find out this and more when we return next time with El Dorado. But until then, as always, you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Support Your Local Podcast. Please take the time to like and follow us there. And if you have a free moment, something that is absolutely free, but you can help me out with a great deal, is rating and reviewing us on whatever podcatcher you find us on. But until we meet again, folks, I love you. Please, please, please support your local podcast.
And when his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. "Shadow," said he, "where can it be? This land called El Dorado." Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow. "Ride, boldly ride," the shade replied. "You search for El Dorado,